Hi guys, and welcome to Piano and Keyboard Artist, where we discuss the artists related to pianos, keyboards and synthesizers. Today's video is going to be quite a long one. There are three parts to this video. In the first part, I'm going to be talking about Gary Numan's Intruder album, as well as just briefly talking about the 4 singles he's just released to promote his Intruder album. Part 2 will be a discussion with David Brooks, who is Gary Numan's keyboard player. And in that part, we're going to focus on David Brooks's album, because David has just released his debut album under his name Littlefinger, and the album is called Big Finish. So we're going to be discussing David's album, and we're going to be listening to some samples from David's album too. In the third part of this video, David and I will be discussing some Gary Numan topics and some of the exciting up-and-coming stuff within the Gary Numan Universe. So stick around, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, breaking news, I'm sure a lot of you have heard that I have just secured an interview with Gary Numan, the man himself, alongside Ade Fenton. Now, it's a little bit disappointing because we had this interview scheduled for an in-person. I was actually going to go there and interview Gary and Ade in person. It's a long story, but unfortunately, due to COVID and a lot of other logistical problems, we've had to decide to do it on Zoom instead. I'm hoping that later down the line Gary will agree to an in-person interview, but for now it's going to be a Zoom interview, which is a consolation prize I'm happy with. So Gary Numan is currently in the UK. He is very, very busy, and a lot of his time now is spent promoting the new album, which is Intruder, and I have been very pumped and psyched about this album, as I'm sure you have as well if you're a fellow Numan fan. Obviously he's dropped 4 singles which have promoted this album, those singles being Intruder, I Am Screaming, Saints and Liars, and Now and Forever. And I'll be honest, when I heard Intruder, the song, for the first time, it did not sort of blow me away in the same way that My Name Is Ruin did. I mean, if you remember the previous album, Savage, Songs from a Broken Mind, from a Broken World, sorry. When My Name Is Ruin came out, that was just like so groundbreaking. It was just like so like, wow. When Intruder came out, I'm not saying it's a bad song. I do like it, but it just didn't blow me away to the point that My Name Is Ruin kind of blew me away. However, listening to the 4 singles that he's released, Intruder, I Am Screaming, Saints and Liars, Now and Forever, they are a really, really good collection of songs, and I am really, really looking forward to this album. You know, the standard of those 4 songs, there's no disappointments at all. From what I can hear so far, it does sound slightly sonically different to Savage, and that is a good thing. Although Gary has very much gone down a very sort of niche market, he knows what his sound is and he knows what he wants to achieve. So when you hear a Gary Numan album these days, you know, it doesn't sort of catch you from the left field and you go, oh my God, what's he doing? You kind of know what to expect, but that's a good thing. A bad thing for some people, I suppose. But even though you kind of know what to expect, he still manages to throw in a few curveballs. And I guess what I'm saying is, what I've heard from these 4 singles, I'm really, really enjoying. Is it what I expected? Yes. Understand that when Savage came out, the bar was raised very, very high. And what I've heard so far from these 4 singles, he has not dropped the ball. So I'm really, really excited about this album, which is out on the 21st of May, the week after next. The Zoom interview, which I'm having with Gary Numan and Ade Fenton, will take place tomorrow. And please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to follow this channel, and so that you will never miss out on a video. So watch this space. All the information is coming soon. Right, looking so forward to that interview tomorrow. And for now, let's jump into the interview with Mr. David Brooks. Ravy Davy, real name David Brooks, goes by his artist name of Littlefinger, has just released his debut album. He's best known as Gary Numan's solo keyboard player. He is Mr. David Brooks. David, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Vaughn. How are you?
It's good, brother. It's good. It's good to see you. We've got a lot to discuss. First things first, congratulations on your debut album.
Thank you very much. It's been interesting process. I've loved every minute of it, kind of. But yeah, I'm really pleased it's done.
Well, yeah. So obviously this is your debut album, and you like myself, you're no spring chicken. So one of the questions is, why now? Why only now?
I think I thought that ship had sailed. When I was young, I played in lots of bands, lots of unsigned bands, and then some signed bands, and things got released and whatnot, but not really my baby. And then I've just played for people ever since, Gary and other people, and done all sorts of music-related work. But I think I literally just thought that I'd gone. That opportunity and that any point in doing that. I've always wanted to write songs and have written songs, but I just kind of took my eye off it, I guess. And then it was Tim in the band, Tim Muddiman in Gary's band, who was doing it. And on the tour bus when we were away, he was saying, "You've really got to do this. You should do it." He was really supportive and taught me a few bits and bobs and coached me on it, and he pushed me, to be honest. So he's to blame.
He's to blame. Well, as I say, I heard your first single that you put out, which was "Beautiful Day," and you've since sent me everything to listen to. Of course, I've listened to it just passively. I haven't had time to sort of digest it, but from what I've heard, I really like it. I will be buying it on hard copy. Because I've got big into buying CDs and vinyl again because I'm old school. But what a vibrant album. What a combination of funk, soul, pop, different singers. It starts off with the opening track, Fly, which I absolutely love. I've played that over and over again. Absolutely love it. I think you had it on your Facebook page the other day. It's almost... and for those of you watching, I hate to use the word tearjerker, but it's when you listen to the words and the sentiment behind it, it really is very, very emotional. And then surprisingly, track 2 comes on, and the whole I don't want to say the tone changes, but we have a female vocalist, and I'm going, wow. And then the point I'm trying to make is, I thought this would be a David Brooks solo album, but this is almost like a David Brooks and Friends. It's like a collaboration, and you've got various different singers and artists, and that's something we're definitely going to talk about. So it's an 11-track album, is that right?
It is, yeah.
It is. It's got 11 tracks. So I've got the list here. So what I'm going to do is I just want to sort of talk through the tracks, track by track, and we'll have it playing in the background as we discuss it. So first things first, did you write all the songs yourself?
I did. Yes, I did. I co-wrote some of the songs. So there's 2 or 3 songs with my wife, Angela, who is the singer of the second song. So the songs that she sings on, we co-wrote. And then there's a song with TJ Davis, who was Gary's backing singer, who I've known forever since we were kids, and we wrote the song that she sang together. Okay,
so your wife, what's her name? Angela. So she sings on track 2. That's the song is called Something's Got. Oh, actually, I don't have the full titles here, but she sings on track 2. There's another song which with amazing female vocals. It's called Sleeping with
the Lights On. Yeah.
Sleeping with the Lights On. Yeah. Sorry, I've got it on my phone. Yeah. So I've only got the first few words of each title. Was that your missus as well singing on that one?
It was. Yeah.
Bloody hell. That woman can sing, man. She can really sing. And TJ Davis, which tracks was she singing on?
So she sings I Feel Like I Want to Die.
Okay, yes. That is track number
5, is it?
Correct. Right, you are. Yes. Yeah, just hold it up there to the camera quickly, David. So guys watching there, this is Littlefinger, his debut album. It's called Big Finnish. Love the title. And that is available now digitally and also in hard copy. And we will provide links at the bottom for you to get behind this and purchase it. As I say, a great album, very, very, it's got elements of pop, soul, all, it's just alive. It's good to hear in a time with, electronic music, we are dominated by electronic music these days. It is good to hear a good, I don't want to say old school because I don't want to be offensive, but just an album that uses like real instruments, drums, guitars, and just really soulful vocals.
Thank you. I didn't really have a plan. I can't claim to have thought I'm going to do this, but I sometimes have a problem when I listen to an album that I get a bit bored, no matter how good it is, even if it's a best of, if it's the same voice or the same band, and everything sounds a bit samey. Not talking about anything in particular, but it just happens. And I'm a big fan of things like the Chemical Brothers or Basement Jaxx or Daft Punk, that use guest singers.
Yeah.
I really like that idea, especially when you're getting a bit older and you don't want to be at the front, doing that kind of thing. You might want to get people in. So that was the plan. The plan was always to have as many people as possible and as many influences. And I think one of my weird little things is that I've never really been majorly into any one kind of music. I've always sort of liked lots of different things, and it's always kept me on the periphery of things. I might be really into something for a few days or whatever, and then I'm funky music or rock music or whatever. So I think that's why the songwriting is a little bit all over the place as well.
Yeah, well, you say that but there is cohesion. That's what I love about it. It's well mixed. There is cohesion. It's not like a mismatch of stuff.
Good. I'm pleased. I mean, there is a central core of, obviously, I've written the songs, I've produced everything, I've done it all here, and I set out to do I remember writing this statement when I first started on Facebook or whatever. It was going to be funky. No, it wasn't. It was going to be dirty electronica. I thought was the sort of definition. And whether I fulfilled that brief or not, I don't know. If it was school homework, I don't know if I'd would have got a tick or a cross. But I like guitars and I like real instruments as well.
Yeah.
So it was a bit blurry how it turned out, but there was definitely a central plan, I guess.
No, that's good. As I say, one thing that does shine through above all else in this is just you turn this on and you can just feel this is a passion project. This is not a corporate thing, and it's just so much variety. And I see you're selling it online for, is it £8? Is that for the download?
Yeah.
And the CDs. Well, I'm going to buy a CD, brother, just to show full respect, and probably get one of those T-shirts as well. So just interesting. Littelfinger, great. I love it. Just on some of the feedback, of course, I've had you on my channel. I think this is the second time we've chatted. And obviously some of the people that came on after me, they said, oh, Vaughn, it's so different to Gary Numan's music. And I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah.
David Brooks is a session keyboard player for Gary Numan, but he is an artist in his own right. So I think it's although it's great to have the opportunity to play for Gary, I think it's sometimes difficult because people sort of typecast you. They see you playing with Gary for all these years, and then they hear your music, and whether they like it or not, well, the feedback I've had so far has been overwhelmingly positive, I'm happy to say. But a lot of people were, well, at least the people I spoke to were expecting Numan type music. And how do you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't contribute to the Gary Numan album sounds. I don't play on the albums, I don't write the songs, I don't produce them. So they don't come from me. So that's why you don't hear any of me in there. And I, as I say, I like all sorts of music, I suppose. I can hear some influences that weren't there that have definitely crept in over the years of working with Gary and knowing Aid Fenton, but they're not obvious, and I can understand why people wouldn't see them. But my tastes are quite eclectic, and that's why I guess it doesn't. I didn't set out to do a Gary Numan album tribute.
No, I get you. And this is why, as an artist, I think this is a great thing you've done, because you've expressed exactly what's in your heart and what's in your mind. And that's why I think this was so good that you actually made the move. And what I can say about this album is it is very, very, very musical. It's very musical. You get these styles that aren't very musical. They're all based on synthesizers and sound design. And whereas that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's not what I'm commenting on. I'm just saying this record of yours, it's kind of like timeless. Just it's real music. It's guitars, drums, bass, screaming vocals, all the musical stuff.
Yeah, I got some great people on. It was a lovely thing, and because we were in lockdown, there wasn't quite as many people on there as I had expected. Although obviously you can do a lot of things online, and you email somebody and get them to do a vocal or a guitar or whatever. But it did inhibit in a way. So there weren't quite as many people on there as I had intended. But what it did do was, when I asked people that maybe would have been too busy at any other time, they weren't busy because of lockdown. So I got some people, really musical people. Steve Harris from Gary's bands, all over it. Another friend of mine, Paul Cuddiford, a guitarist who's always on tour with, you name it, Holy Holy. The Spiders from Mars.
Oh yeah.
Band. He's the guitarist in that, and obviously they're not on tour at the moment. So he was, I'll do some guitar, and I think a lot of the musicality, some of the musicality, comes from the people that I was able to use.
No, well, that's as I say, you really feel the sort of musicality here, and lockdown has been, some people have harnessed the positive side of lockdown for collaborations like this.
Yeah, I mean, there was a funny story actually, because there's a track on the album that absolutely wasn't going to be on the album, because I said I didn't have a plan, but I did try and keep it fairly electronic within a certain brief. I wasn't going to make a dance album or a sort of jazz funk album or whatever. So there was just a couple of things that I'm not going to put that on. In the 90s, I was really into a band called Freak Power, who were a funk band. They were a Sly and the Family Stone. It was Norman Cook from, Fatboy Slim.
Oh, yeah.
And a guy called Ashley Slater, a singer. And I absolutely loved his voice. I loved the band, and I loved his voice. And I wrote this song completely ripping them off. Just every little bit of that I could use. It's like you feed all the Freak Power songs into a computer and press a button and it spits it out and got the song. It was never going to be on the album because it's a kind of retro funk thing. But I'm friends with him on Facebook, but I don't know him. I'm friends with Keith Richards. I don't know these people. And my wife is as well. There is a connection because one of my wife's best friends, my wife is a singer. She's a professional singer. She's sung with lots of people. And one of her friends was sang in Freak Power. So I'll get to my point in a minute. So she is Facebook friends with Ashley Slater. He Facebook messaged her and said, do you live in this little town where we live? There's a kids play thing, a really huge trampoline kids play thing. And he was coming with his kids. And just randomly messaged her and said, is that where you live? And it's literally walking distance from my house. So she came in. I was sitting here working on the album one Saturday. And she said, Ashley Slater's coming on for a cup of tea. And I mean, it's I don't know. It's like if somebody came and said Dave Garn's outside on the drive.
Yeah. It's like me meeting Martin Gore or something like that. Yeah.
It is. And I had to gather myself because there he was, literally. I looked out the window and there he was. And he sat there and we chatted. And then slowly, as he was talking about kids, not lockdown, because it was between lockdowns, but entertaining your kids and just dad stuff. I started thinking, I can't let this meeting go without saying about the song. So he'd asked to hear something on the album, and I was working on "I Feel Like I Want to Die," which is a really dark, sad song. And I put it on, and I could see him sort of glazing over because it probably wasn't his thing. And then that's when I thought, right, I'm going to put it on. So I put it on. It was some dodgy old demo of it, and it's only when you're sitting there with your Martin Gore playing in your song that you realise how much you've ripped him off and how every part of the song is different. And I'm looking at him thinking he's going to walk out. He's going to. Anyway, he listened to it, and I don't know whether I'd popped the question by then or not. But he sang it. He sang the song. He went away. He sent me a couple of wabs of it back. I went back and said, "Could you do this? You fancy doing that? What about that?" He did it. Boom. That was, and it's on the album. I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb to me because it's a sort of funk thing. But to me, it is my Martin Gore.
Yeah. Well, you see, that's the great thing about this is, as opposed to, obviously this is your album, but as opposed to, these days with instrumentation and technology, a lot of things can be done by one person. And I sometimes find that you kind of sell yourself short by doing that. And indeed, I think yours, and I'm going to be holding your album as an example for my students and stuff, as well as something that is, come from a guy who has an idea. He's collaborated with a lot of people and the idea has become bigger than you.
Yeah, it has. People were really cool, really interested and willing to be involved, and I just see that as an asset to the collective. If I've got Ursula Slater, Steve Harris, my wife, all these people, TJ singing on the album, it's just more power to me and the album.
Well, absolutely, brother. Well, this album deserves as much support as it can get because it's a bloody good album. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run through some of the songs here. And as we talk about them, I'll have them playing in the background. It starts off with Fly, which, as I say, is a great way to open open the album. And it's a little bit, I don't want to say misleading, but it starts off like that. And then, you're really into it and you go, oh, this is like a real love ballad kind of album. And then, of course, track 2 comes in. By the time we're into track 4, it's so different, but in a good way. There's cohesion and everything. But let's start off with Fly. That is you singing, is that right?
It is, yeah.
That is you. And what's also one thing, David, about this record, if we talk about Gary Numan, obviously, Gary Numan's market is very niche. It's a small market, but very hardcore. I mean, we all know the Numan fans, and I'm one of them. But this album to me has got your album has got tremendous sort of mainstream appeal. So I'm really hoping it'll, through you doing your thing and me doing my thing and us spreading the word, you can help it break through, because it really does have mainstream appeal. I was listening to a lot of these songs and I could, especially like Fly, that could be like a love song in a Netflix movie, I mean, it has such mainstream appeal, and I'm very, very passionate about it. Fly is your vocals. Who else was involved in that song as far as musicians were concerned?
Actually, just Steve Harris. Everything else is me. And I said to him, or he said to me, I don't really want to do the obvious kind of Coldplay dom dom dom.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I think my friend Nick is on bass. Nick Owen. I think Nick's on bass. Can't read that, but it's got a bit of a sort of Coldplay thing. And that's what I'd said to Steve. Let's keep it in time. And we passed it backwards and forwards and came up with this idea of trying to do a sort of string quartet thing. and he plays the ebow. I don't know if you know an ebow.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Simulates the guitar. So he laid down 4 tracks, like cello, bass, viola, and violin, like an orchestrated string part, but on 4 guitar parts on an ebow. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of get it. It's a distorted pad kind of thing that he's put on there. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that song.
Well, that song to me has, and there's quite a few, but that song is one of the songs that has a really sort of like classic British sound to it. And I put it, what I mean by that is I grew up in South Africa, although I've lived here most of my life, but it's got that kind of, I'm not saying it sounds like Oasis, but it's kind of like, that the Verve, the Oasis, those great British rock bands. So that's flattering in its own way, but a great song. I really, really like it. Track 2, Something's
Gone Wrong.
Something's Gone Wrong. As I say, I've only got the first part of the title on the phone here. So tell us, that's your wife singing on that one?
Yes.
Something's gone wrong with this baby. Something's gone wrong with this baby. Waited so long for this baby. Something's gone wrong with this baby. And I'm just trying to get this little crazy person out of my.
We used to have a band called Angel A, Angel asterisk A, and her name is Angela. And Nick Owen, who plays bass on a lot of the tracks here, was in Angel A, and a couple of the guys. And we used to do gigs, and that was one of the songs that we wrote for that band. And I always thought it deserved, a rework. I mean, we didn't really do much to it to put it on here. She re-sang it and whatnot. But we wrote that together, and it is a bit different, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Right, and track 3, Beautiful Day, that was like the debut single you released for this album, is that right?
I guess so, yeah. It was one of the first ones finished, I think, and one of the first ones that I was playing to people. And I think I should have done a bit of homework on this, but I think that's just me again.
That's you singing, yeah.
Singing, yeah, but I don't think anybody else is playing on it.
Oh, I see.
It's turned out well. It's there's not much to say about it really, but I'm pleased with the way it's turned out.
Definitely, and that was definitely the first one I heard, and it's as I say, the album has definitely not disappointed.
But they would have made us cry. It's a beautiful day, but it feels like it's raining, and it's cold, it's dark, but I'm told it's a beautiful day. We're lost in a storm.
Track 4, Get a Life. The singer?
Right, so that's the song that Ashley Sater sang. Sang, and wouldn't have been on the album but for the fact that I was lucky enough to hoodwink him into singing it. It's a bit different, I think, but maybe people don't see it. But I love him. He's brilliant, and I was just honoured to get him on there. So yeah, it's a bit of a party, that one.
Have you had a good time? Slow down, look round, take it all in. Oh, it's all for heaven, it's just where to begin. Don't you want to live your own life? 'Cause life's for heaven and you can't do it twice.
No, that's great, and what an honour to have someone that you've looked up to for so many years singing on your record.
I know, I was trying to hold it together. It's funny because when he was sat there, there's a ticket to one of his gigs on a little notice board there. And as I was chatting to him, just trying to be, muso to muso.
Yeah. You're getting fanboy. You become fanboy, yeah.
ticket was there, and the song was an obvious. It just blew my cool.
Don't worry, Ravey Davey, you're still cool, mate. Right. So track number 5. As I say, I've only got I feel
like I want to die.
I feel like I want that was the TJ Davis song.
That was TJ, who she was Gary's backing singer way back, and we met at college in Yorkshire when we were teenagers, and moved to London together, and had a band, and then she got the gig with Gary, and I met Gary through TJ. That's how I got the gig.
Yeah.
And so we've done all sorts of things, and we wrote this song, and it's a bit of a tearjerker, but yeah, it's she's done a beautiful vocal on it. She
certainly has. It's good to see that she's still in the industry.
Oh yeah. She does all sorts of things. I'm trying to think what she's done recently. Backing vocals and tours. D-Ream. She was very big D-Ream for.
Well, certainly put me in touch, David. I'd love to have a chat with her one day on the channel if she's up for it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The situation is that I'm tired and I'm lonely, and I feel like I want to die.
Okay, the next track was My Friends.
Yes. So me singing again. So when I first decided to do this album, I don't know anything about online marketing and how you do it. People were saying, you've got to go with a pledge music type thing, or you've got to do it yourself, or you've got to do it. I had no idea. So I made a little video, and I had a demo of this. I'd done a demo, and it was the only one that I could play something. So I did a video sort of to this song, and that's what launched the whole thing. And the video was me walking on the seafront with no clothes on.
Oh, running naked. Yeah, you told me the story, and you said when the camera guy got there, he had this young girl as his assistant, and you were like, tell her to look the other way or something.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was crushingly embarrassing. Anyway, it seemed like a good idea.
Was that your idea to run naked?
Well, I don't know how long you've got, but me and a friend used to do a DJ thing called Porn Disco. It wasn't anything to do with porn. It was Disco, and it was kind of a funny, jokey thing, but DJ, and we used to dress up. And there's these. You'll find these videos on stage. There's a lot, not on stage, online. There's a lot of videos where people have done this walking in public. There's a really famous one called. It's a French single, walking through the streets of Paris, and it's blacked out the bit. And me and my friend Simon always said we would do a promo for our DJ thing, doing that, and we never did it. So when this came along, I thought, what's the most outrageous thing I can do? I just thought that if I do something really outrageous, it would attract attention and sell the album. Yeah. So I did it, I guess hopefully it sold the album, because I'd hate to think it was a waste of time. But yeah, My Friends was the demo of it was on that video.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mate, pardon the pun, but you've got balls to do that, man. I just think, for most people, that would be like a dare. Because I did see the promo video, and I was thinking, the first thing I'm thinking of, it was on a promenade. Yeah. Yes. So it's like you must have done it early on a Sunday morning or something when you could have got arrested for that.
I know. It was early. I live in Sussex. I'm not that far, I suppose. But I remember driving down, and I was shitting myself as I was driving down. I was thinking, "Are you really doing this?" I've got up stupidly early and left my wife and left her in bed. I mean,
did you have a few drinks before you did it just to get some Dutch courage?
No. I should have. But it was still quite busy. There was joggers and dog walkers more than you'd think. You're standing there because you you know, you do it in a robe, but there are times when you just have to stand there with no clothes on.
And did anyone say anything? Did they call the police or something? Or
no, I mean, it's Brighton. Nobody batted an eye.
Oh, it's Brighton. Of course, it was Brighton. You tried that in, Blackpool or one of those places.
No.
Oh God! Well, mate, as I say, you pardon the pun, you got balls for doing that. Right, track 7. Just complete the title. Sleeping with
the lights on.
Sleeping with the lights on. Yeah.
Yeah, this is me and Angela, my wife, wrote this, and she's singing on it. And I went to. There was a time when I was going to sort of record companies, publishing companies, and various places trying to further my career with, things that I was doing. And I noticed a little trend where you'd go to these places and they'd end up playing new stuff. I don't know whether you've ever been in that situation. It used to really annoy me. Obviously I was polite because I was begging, but you'd end up coming home with CDs and things, and people are playing, these record company execs or publishing people are playing new things, and I think I can't tell you how much I'm not interested.
Yeah.
One of the things somebody played me was a track by a guy called, well, it was Turtle K was the act, and this track, and I absolutely loved it. And I went home from this meeting and started writing this song. And there's a sample of his track, and I had to track the guy down because obviously you can't just use people's samples. So I had to sort of go backwards, and I did find him. He's a lovely guy who we've chatted quite a lot. And he was absolutely happy for me to use the thing, and I've credited him on there. And it makes the song. It absolutely works beautifully in the song. So it starts with his sample, and then our song comes in over the top.
Right.
So that's just fessing up about that.
For yourself, you'll be sleeping with the lights on. When the night falls down, if you wonder where the fight's gone, we'll just turn around.
Right, track number 8 is called TNSTAL.
There's no such thing as love.
Oh, there we go. There's no such thing as love. Okay, that makes sense.
My mate Nick, I've got a friend Nick from the Cutting Crew, and he once told me that when a band called the Cutting Crew, who've had lots of albums out, that when they put an album together, they would put all the tracks together in every possible variation, and then listen to them over and over again to decide the order they should be in.
That's very important, the track listing. Yes, absolutely.
When this happened, I think somebody emailed me and said, we need the track listing right now, and I hadn't thought about it. So I did it boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, and I think I juggled a couple of things, just keys and tempos and things, but it's pretty much boy, girl, boy, girl. And that's how this order happened. It just occurred to me. And so it goes from sort of up and down, up and down. There's no such thing as love. It's just a soppy ballad, I'd read this article that scientists had discovered the chemical response, or the chemical formula of love. What creates love? And I think I'm right in saying that the chemical is oxytocin. That's probably complete nonsense. It's probably acne or something, but I think that's what it was. And I thought, God, it was so cool to write a song where you somehow say there's no such thing as love. It's just chemicals.
Yeah.
Gary would be able to do that, and it would be mean, and it would be absolutely what I had intended. And that was the intention, maybe even to get oxytocin in the lyrics somewhere, but or maybe the title. But I ended up just writing a soppy love song. But the sentiment is somebody's, a relationship is broken up, don't feel sad because what you're feeling is just a chemical.
It's just chemical. Yeah, that's quite scary, actually. Yeah. And that is a very Numan kind of subject, actually, because Numan's material can be quite cynical sometimes, even though he himself is just a really lovely bloke like yourself.
Oh, bless you. Yes, he is.
'Cause it's all in your mind. It's all in your mind. It's all in your mind.
Right, track 9, Wasted.
Right, yeah, me and Ange again. We wrote this together, and it just starts small and just gets as big as you could possibly get. I think by the end of it, her vocal cords are on fire, and we've got the kitchen sink in there. Steve Harris is on. No, I think who's on guitar? This is one that Richie from Gary's band, Richie Beasley, had done some drums for me, because obviously in lockdown he couldn't get to a studio to get real drums. He plays on this one and Sleeping with the Lights On, but he'd done some drums for me for something, and I just chopped them up and used bits. So I think it starts with a 4-bar loop of him just playing, and then when it gets to the bridge, I go to his sort of 8 tracks of lovely drums that he's playing, and it's supposed to kind of open out. But that's Rich playing drums on there, and Nick Owen on bass, and it's a bit of a kitchen sinker by the end.
I built a wall around my heart to stop it from being torn apart. And every time I hear his name, I do these things to stop the pain.
Right, track number 10 is called My Life.
Right, yeah. That synth I always heard and thought, I've got to use that. You could do something really brilliant with that. So I actually sampled it, wrote the verse using that, and then I bottled out of actually using it. I had to sort of recreate it because I thought, it's a little bit eggy, obviously being in Gary's band has done me a lot of favours with this in lots of ways. I don't really want to be sampling stuff as well. That's just a bit too far. And also,
I see, yeah.
The copyright situation is a bit more complicated than with Sean, who I used on Sleeping with the Lights On. So I bottled out of using the sample, but I did kind of recreate it with a synth. And yeah, it's a good song. It's kind of a few things thrown together.
I never ever give in. You got to want to make this pay. It's just a matter of time before this whole world is mine. So don't bring me down. Don't hang around.
I'd always heard it with a girl singing, and I love my wife to bits, and I love her voice to bits. And TJ has got an incredible voice, but I wanted a, I don't know what I wanted. I wanted a sort of goth girl voice or something a little bit different from them. So the intention was always to get a girl that I didn't know, because I didn't know who. And I asked around all the time working on the album and working on the song, and I never found said person. And it's a hell of a song to sing. The range of it is ridiculous. And I sort of committed to a key by the time. And I've got this friend called Joel Fender that I work with in London. He's an incredible singer, a male singer, and he's got this bonkers voice. And so I asked him if he would sing it, and he's a very different kind of singer. I mean, you listen to it and you'll get what I mean. And he was very pleased to do it. and I'm absolutely over the moon that he did. But the weird thing was that I'd written in a committed to a key, probably not really knowing whether it would have worked for a girl. So I probably should have changed the key if I'd have got that girl. But when Joel sang it, I sent it off and he sent it back, and it just sounded beautiful. The verses were beautiful, but the chorus, I went back to him and said, it's such a sort of gut-wrenching song. I want to hear that it's hurting you to sing it, that you're giving it, you know. So maybe we should change the key. I'll have to get Steve to do the guitars again. You know, I'll have to. It needs this, that, and the other. Actually, it wasn't Steve. It was Paul Clifford on guitar. But maybe we should change the key. And he said, "I'll tell you what. I'll try it an octave higher. I'll just sing it an octave higher." Oh, okay. That's because that doesn't sound like it's killing you.
Yeah.
Anyway, he sent it back, and it still doesn't sound like it's killing me. So if you listen to the song, he sings the verse in one octave and the chorus in another, and it sounds amazing. But if I'd sung it, it would have, you know, there would have been blood everywhere because it's killer. But he's done a beautiful job, and it just made it all the more. You know, the album's a little bit more eclectic, and it's different because of the flavour that he brought.
Well, that's brilliant. Okay, so we've had a run through all the tracks there now. So to everyone watching, guys, it's David Brooks, aka Ravy Davey. Follow him on Twitter. Check out his YouTube channel. All the links will be in the description below. His debut album by his alter ego named Littlefinger, and it's called Big Finish. Love it. And that's available now. And you've got some cool merch there, T-shirts. I do like those, yeah. Listen, David, so what we're going to do now is we're going to, obviously for the fanboys and fangirls here, I see you've got some keyboards behind you there. So we're just going to quickly, briefly talk about some of the things that are occurring now with the new Gary Numan album, Intruder, which is released on the 21st of May. And of course, as we spoke before I hit record, I'm off to interview Gary and Aid next week, which will be the 13th or the 14th. We're just trying to get the dates right. I want to thank you, David, for putting in a good word to me. Aid said very nice things, so thank you very much. I'll send you that tenner later. And I'm very grateful to Gary for accommodating this, because I know he landed in the UK last Saturday. I think he's in quarantine now, and then he's got to come out after I think the frustration of sitting there for 10 days not being able to do anything, although he probably is, and then having to come out and just, because this is why this interview has been so difficult to do, because he's just slammed with PR. You know, he's got to be everywhere at the same time. So I want to talk about your rehearsals, because I think you guys have got a rehearsal on Monday the 17th or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. I've got about a week, 10 days now to get upright and get going, and I am starting to get a bit nervous about it. This is the scary bit. You know, the gigs are easy.
Well, you know what, David? I don't know why you're getting nervous, because you don't play anyway, according to some people. we spoke about this, and I actually, all jokes aside, to the community here, David has actually released a video. I'm going to link to that in the description below, where you can actually see, because David, I think on our first conversation, I did say, you know, you should put up I actually said, I'll come over to you or whatever, but you should put up a rig. And I'm glad to see you actually did that. And you actually played everything. And that was impressive to see. Yeah. But, you know, we said this last time, there's always going to be the haters, isn't there?
Yeah. It's a weird thing. I still get messages, you know, because you put yourself on Facebook and Twitter and da-da-da, so people can get to you. And I still get regular messages of people, and some of them don't mean any harm. They're just trying to be funny. But some people do just say, why do you, you know, admit it. Why do you still pretend? You're obviously not playing.
But you know, we don't want to obviously steer the conversation that direction, but I'm just like, who tends to say things like that? I tend to think usually, and in my channel as well, I find the people who are most critical are I don't know, it's usually the people who are kind of in the industry or want to get into the industry. They're the ones who are usually the most critical. I mean, the fans don't really care. They're just up there going, Newman, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, we spoke about it this last time. And it is often musicians and producers who tend to think they know it all.
Yeah, that's true. Would be musicians and producers and people with, for whatever reason, an axe to grind. But you know, I try to just not bite. But I did do that video because a few people had asked for genuine reasons to see the stuff, because it is quite interesting, and it is different from any other gig, you know.
It is. And in that video, once again, guys, link in the description below. In that video, it is interesting to see, because obviously I came to the UK in 1999. And I think the first concert I saw of Gary was in the Brixton Academy in 2000 when he just launched Pure. And, you know, those back in the days, he had 2 keyboard players and he had all these E4XT samplers. You know, it was, music technology has come a long way in 20 years. But I'm still saying to people, and this is where I'm flying your flag, because, you know, I'm a keyboard player as well, and I do videos on breakdowns of album parts and stuff like that. And it does, as I said to you last time, it does make me very nervous when I see you on stage. You are now essentially doing the role of 2 people. And I think you explained it nicely on that video was, as we agreed, the individual parts are not difficult to play. You've got to concentrate more, because just think of a song like Cars. Dun, 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 dun. You know, it's not a style that you can improvise. You have to hit the note. And I think you used a very good analogy, David. You said it's a little bit like dancing. You know, it's like if I look at like Down in the Park, for instance. I'm getting really geeky now, but this just humor me. Before, when you had 2 keyboard players, you'd have someone doing the bass drone, dum, 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 which is not difficult. But then you've got someone playing the lead line. Du, 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 du. Now, the difficult thing is when you're doing both, and then you've got to jump from one keyboard to the next, you know, you are so on the edge. You can so easily make a mistake. And I suppose, David, I think one day what you must do is you should just throw in a little mistake for the haters. So you can say, there we go, you fuckers, I am playing. But then Gary will probably... give you stick.
Yeah, I do, and obviously I do it intentionally. Those bum notes. The Down in the Park thing is quite interesting because it's not difficult parts. It is the choreography. If you find yourself on the wrong foot or the wrong hand, finger, you've had it. And when rehearsals start, or when I start running through the things for rehearsals next week. On the main stage laptop, there's the keyboards mapped out on the screen, and I haven't got them turned on, so I can't show you, but I think I do it on the video. You can see, and I've color coded what patches are on what keyboard and where they are, the zones and whatnot. And I have to look. I have to write. So I play that bit there, and I play that bit there, and then I play that bit there, and once that's in, I'm fine, because that's the difficult bit of getting from part to part. And if you miss a cue, miss a jump, you've had it.
Well, this is the thing, David, and although you've been doing this for a long time and you look really cool on stage, obviously, there are certain songs that I can see you are really concentrating. There's some videos out there, where the camera will zoom onto you and the concentration on your face. And I'm saying to the haters, that is a real concentrated face for someone who's faking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I see some people send me pictures, usually of Gary or Tim, and say, "Oh, there's a picture of you," and you can just see me sticking out the back. But I'm usually like this, because
yeah.
If you play a bum note, it's not like a kind of jazz gig or a rock gig or anything. The part is the part, and you've got to play the part. And if I get it wrong, it's horrible.
David, I think we may have spoken about this on the first video, but I'll ask the question again just for the new viewers here. Obviously, Gary's scaled down to 1 keyboard player now. So, what was the intention there? Was it because, all right, David, you're going to play keyboards alone by yourself till we get someone else, and now he's going, oh, you can handle it all. that's an extra salary, or what was the deal there?
I think I think there was a few things that happened. There was a change in management at one point when Gary went to America, and the idea was sort of bandied about, and I wasn't around actually for a while. So it was the idea was kind of floated, and a few people had a go at it. So it was proved that it could be done, and obviously this is where the haters are thinking, well, we just put it on tape. You just get somebody to stand there and put it on tape. Job's done. You're just going to have to take my word for it. That's not the situation. But I think now, I think with Gary, it's not. When people join the band, it's as much about the person as it is. I mean, obviously they've got to be able to play, they've got to be able to do the job, music. But the people in his band, it's about whether they get on with each other and whether they get on with him. And it's such
close knit,
perfect, close knit little unit now. It's more about that, honestly, than about money or about hands-on keyboards. I love it. I've got my department now, and I run it how I want, and I don't have to sort of accommodate anybody else or I have loved it in the past when there were other people, but I really love it now because it's
because obviously you were, because there was Aid Orange, then you were like the new boy, and then obviously Aid would play most of the parts because he was the senior keyboardist, and you had to probably kind of do the simpler parts, because he's the lead keyboardist, so to speak. And now for you to sort of take over everything, it's challenging.
Well, yeah, he was, the way that we do it or define it would be like keyboards 1 and keyboards 2. I've done gigs with 3 keyboard players, and there was like a piano in that band. There was a pianist who sat at a piano and did the piano, and then there was I was doing like all the strings and that kind of thing, and then the other guy was doing the synths. It was not a Gary Numan gig, but that's how it was kind of done. And it was keyboard 1, keyboard 2, and keyboard 3. So you have your jobs. And when I joined, Aid was keyboard 1, and I was keyboard 2. And I was definitely he would sort of decide what was be done, and that was totally cool. And he would tend to take the high stuff, and I would take the low stuff. Yeah. And it wasn't so much a hierarchical thing, because to be honest, the guy who's playing the low stuff gets the dom dom da, the dom dom da. Where Aid is there going da, 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 concentrating and doing all that stuff. I'm standing at the front with the guitar going da 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 da. So I'm happy, But that's when it was with Aid, he would do the high stuff and I would do the low stuff. It was simple, really.
Yeah, I think there was, for one tour you had Aid Fenton on keyboards as well, and I think it was at Splinter, around about the Splinter tour, and I think I saw a video on YouTube where they were doing a stage tour, and Aid Fenton's words, not mine. Aid said, "I play the stuff that a monkey could play. David is the," he was saying, you play the more complex stuff.
Well, I had progressed to keyboard 1, for want of a better expression, by then. So I was, I guess, doing all the tinkling stuff. Aid had produced the album and co-written some of it, I'm sure. So while he was in, the year or whatever it took to do that album, there was all the parts that he'd worked out and written and put on the album. So he was perfectly capable of doing all of that stuff, and he tended to do the low stuff on the older material. He would do the low stuff. So that's kind of how it worked.
That's interesting. Well, listen, David, just one more question. This you guys have got this event now, which Gary's ticketing for. It's like a live event, but a virtual live event, so to speak. So you guys are obviously rehearsing for that now. Obviously, don't answer anything that you're not at liberty to answer. But what was the date for this? Was it in June sometime?
Oh God,
I should know, but I don't.
Is it June the 17th, or was that one of my kids' birthdays? I can't remember.
I don't know. We'll look it up. But this is going to obviously be like a virtual gig, because obviously no one can have gigs at the moment. So how's that going to work? You're going to just have like a camera crew there, and where is this going to be done? Do you know the venue, or you're not allowed to say? Or
it's in Berkshire, and it's
Okay.
I think it's a purposely designed sort of film and TV soundstage kind of thing, with all the tech, camera track and lights and all that. I think Gary, obviously talk to Gary when you see him, but that's my understanding of what it is. And my understanding of it is that we're going to rehearse for a week, but when we get there, they want to do it as a gig. I don't think there's going to be any. I mean, if it all comes crashing down, presumably they can just start again or whatever. But my understanding is it's a gig. We're going to perform it, and that's what you're going to see. So, look out for those bum notes.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, as I say, brother, I'll be flying your flag. Don't you worry. Listen, David. Thank you so much. This has been a very, very interesting chat, as it always is with you. So, to the guys and girls watching, David Brooks, Littlefinger. Links in the description below to all his social media. Well worth supporting. Great guy. And don't buy his record because he's a great guy. It's a great record. It really is. And I tell you what, David, I will have to buy one. I'll have a photo of myself holding it just to show that I'm not a hypocrite. And I'll get the Littlefinger t-shirt as well, because I do like that, actually.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Listen, brother, it's always a pleasure. I hope to shake your hand at some point, maybe at a rehearsal sometime or at a gig. I'd love to come and gate crash, but it's always a pleasure speaking to you, brother.
Yeah, and you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All the best, David. I'll see you again, mate.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye now.